Now we got to talk about Trump's response to the fallout from the debate, because frankly, he is coping. He is struggling, right? He's clearly very mad, and for understandable reasons, as I do think the ABC moderators were heavily biased against him. They fact-checked him aggressively, but didn't fact-check any of Kamala Harris's lies on everything from abortion to the very fine people, like false claim that's not what he actually said, to the bloodbath thing. She took his words totally out of context. He was speaking about economics, and she makes it sound like he was calling for violence or saying there'd be violence if he lost the election. They didn't do any fact-checking of her, but they went super hard on him. So I can understand why he's frustrated. And that frustration came up in an interview with Fox News that Trump just gave, discussing how ABC handled the debate. We're going to take a listen to that, and I do have some thoughts on what Trump says here. So let's take a listen and then meet back here to discuss.
Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And the bloodbath, you were talking about the economy. It's a term that's used a lot when people are talking about a bad economy. What's your reaction to why didn't the moderators correct her?
Because they're dishonest, and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that.
So this is where Trump totally loses me. He has a point that ABC News was heavily biased, that they should have fact-checked Kamala Harris for taking his bloodbath comments totally out of context and making it sound like he was talking about violence when he was actually talking about economic consequences of her policies. And yet, to go a step beyond simply criticizing their bias or even saying, and that's why I won't do another debate with them, or I'm not going to give them any more interviews or something like that, and say they should have their license revoked, that's crossing over into chilling and authoritarian territory, having the government shut down news outlets because a government official doesn't like their coverage is actually very scary stuff. That's a real red flag. It's not constitutional to do that. It would be a violation of the First Amendment, which guarantees the freedom of the press. It would violate the First Amendment to target and revoke a license of a company because you disagree with the things they're saying as a government official. So first off, Trump is advocating for something that's unconstitutional. And secondly, he's also saying something that doesn't appear to make much sense, because ABC News' national broadcast, which is what he's talking about, doesn't actually require an FCC license. According to the FCC's website, it's just their local affiliates that are licensed by the FCC. And so I guess he could go after local affiliates, but why would he do that for what the national branch was covering? I mean, that doesn't make much sense, and it doesn't even appear that he really understands the regulatory system he's talking about here. And if you're a Republican or a Trump supporter or a conservative, I understand that, respect your perspective, but you shouldn't be on board with this particular idea from Trump, because if Trump can go after and censor or revoke the licenses of liberal biased media, well, guess what? An Obama or a Biden or a Harris could do the same thing to Fox News, to talk radio, to local affiliates of conservative media, to even people like me potentially, right? Because once you cross those kinds of lines, that's a power that can be abused by the other side as well. So what we need to do is not try to silence or shut down media just because they're biased or unfair. We should call them out. We should push back on them. You could even boycott them. Trump could, like I said, he can say, I'm not going to talk to ABC News anymore. Republicans shouldn't go on their shows. But to actually use the force of government, the levers of power of the state, to try to silence a media outlet is an authoritarian act. It is an act of censorship. It is the kind of thing that is unbecoming of a leader in a free society. So I was really concerned to see Trump have this response. I can understand his frustration for sure, but to take it this step too far, he absolutely loses me. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me on this one, or do you agree with Trump? Let me know in the comments, and do hit that like button while you're at it.